Carrie, are we good to go?
Yes, you are.
All right. Thank you, and good evening. I'm Jim Like, a member of the Milton Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and on behalf of the Chamber, we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening for this Candidates Forum for the School District of Milton Board of Education. Tonight, we will meet 5 of our 6 candidates that are vying to fill 4 open seats on the school board. Each of them will have an opportunity to tell us about themselves and their qualifications, and they'll answer several questions prepared by the Chamber for this forum. The school board election takes place on Tuesday, April 6th, with the polls at City Hall. You can also participate in in-person absentee voting there starting next Tuesday, the 23rd. You can also request an absentee ballot by contacting City Hall. If you care about education, this is an important election because not only are we electing 4 school board members, but also a new superintendent for the State Department of Public Instruction. So we encourage you to research that election and its candidates as well. And now I'd like to quickly introduce our candidates that will be joining us this evening. When I say your name, please just give us a hello or a hi sign. First of all, Jay Williams, Leslie Hubert, Jennifer Johns, Dave Holterman, and Joe Martin. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement before we begin with our questions. The order that we're going to start with is the order that the names will appear on the ballot on April 6th, and we will rotate that order with each question, so everyone will have an opportunity to answer first and answer last. As I mentioned, 2 minutes to answer every question. When we get to 30 seconds left, we will have this professionally hand-drawn 30 seconds left sign that we will give to alert the candidates that their time is wrapping up. Candidates, do any of you have any questions for us this evening before we get started? Everybody's good? All right, outstanding. Again, thank you all for joining us. So, for your opening statement, each of you will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and we will start with our incumbent school board president, Joe Martin.
Okay, I'm unmuted, so here we go. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. If you're doing so online or choose to do so later, thank you for the opportunity to share with you some of our background and personal experience and our goals for the school board. As Jim mentioned, my name's Joe Martin. It's been my privilege to have been on the school board for the past 3 years. The most recent 2 of those in the capacity as president. My personal background is I'm a community, a lifer, I guess you'd say, in Milton. I've been born and raised in this community, went through all the schools, was in Consolidated West, a junior high building that stands where Northside is now, and the high school, and had seen many of the iterations that those buildings went through over the years. Graduated from Milton High School in 1981, and went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, have a bachelor's degree in 1985 from there, and have been owner and operator of Martin Farms since college days. My interest in the school board was probably peaked in the mid-2000s as we entertained a facilities team to look at long-term needs of the district. So I gained an insight into some of the shortcomings and strengths that the district had, and was part of a committee tasked with creating a long-range vision for that. So it's been my privilege to work closely with the board until being a member of the board since 2018. I guess that'll do for the intro.
All right, thank you, Joe. Next for our opening statement, Dave Holterman, also a school board incumbent. And the statement of 2020, Dave, you're on mute.
Didn't have to do that. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. First of all, thanks to the Chamber for putting this on tonight. Carrie Kleba for helping make the technical aspect of it work for us all. And Jim Like for moderating. And also thanks for everyone else that's on the video tonight. My name is Dave Holterman. I've been on the school board since April of 2020. In addition to my seat on the school board, I serve as the chair. I serve as the chair of the Transportation Committee. I'm on the Finance Committee, and I'm also on the Strategic Planning Committee and Technology Committee. For my career, I'm Vice President at First Community Bank here in Milton. My work responsibilities include working with our bank's business clients. I serve on the bank's board of directors and act as a manager of our bank's lending team. My education includes, I'm a 1993 graduate of Milton High School. I attended UW-Whitewater and earned a degree in finance and completed the Graduate School of Banking at UW-Madison in 2019. My community involvement includes, I am on the board of directors of the Blackhawk Technical College Foundation. I'm chair of the Government Relations Council at Forward Janesville and enjoy volunteering for activities that involve my kids. Why am I running for the board? Quite simply, kids. My wife Joni and I have 3 of our own children, and all of them are attending or have attended Milton schools. I think we were presented with one of the most challenging environments we could have in the last 12 months, and I think the board and the administration and the staff of the schools have done a really good job working our way through some challenging times. I'm a product of this school district, as are my kids, and it's important to me to do what I can to help it be as good as it possibly can. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Our next opening statement will be from Jay Williams. Welcome, Jay.
Hi, how's it going, everybody? First off, I want to say, Joe, Dave, you guys did great on the school board so far this year. You guys are awesome. Jay Williams, I work at Go Right Way. I'm an assistant manager there, operations manager. Main reason I wanted to do the school board is because of the kids. I grew up in Milton. I have two boys that came to Milton or went to Milton. One's a sophomore, one's a sophomore in college this year. I've coached for years, 16 years tops. I've coached in Milton. I coached with Dave, football. So it's pretty much all I got. I mean, I graduated from Milton. Never went to college, so that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Thank you, Jay.
Yep.
Next opening statement will be from Leslie Hubert. Leslie.
Hello, I just want to echo what has been said and thank everyone for being on here, and thanks to the Milton Chamber of Commerce for hosting this. I'm happy to participate. Once again, I'm Leslie Hubert. I'm a mother, a wife, and a teacher. I've, of course, have served a combination of those quite often, but since graduating 13 years ago, my career has been centered on secondary and post-secondary education, but I've also served as a preschool teacher, a curriculum writer, and my focus generally has been on civic education in that regard. My academic background is a bachelor's degree in history and secondary education with a minor in middle school education, and I also have a master's in history. In 2015 and 16, I served on one of 6 work groups that rewrote the Missouri State Standards of Education, moving it away from Common Core standards. I'm running mostly because as a citizen who's knowledgeable about education and how it's supposed to function, I want to make sure that we don't continue down the road creating a disconnection between the school board and the community. As a board member, it'll be my focus to empower parents, support the teachers, and bridge that communication gap between the school board and the community. We could go a long way to rebuilding trust through increased efforts to reach the whole district, from Harmony to Consolidated and to Milton, and not just the parents of students, but the whole community. And it'll be my job, my aim to be an advocate for all the citizens of our district. So thanks again, and I look forward to a great forum.
Thank you, Leslie. And our final opening statement this evening will be from incumbent Jennifer Johns. Jennifer.
Hi, thanks. I too would like to thank the Chamber and Jim for allowing us the opportunity to share our thoughts tonight. So I was born and raised in Rock County, and I've lived in the district for 19 years. My spouse is a deputy sheriff with the Rock County Sheriff's Office, and we have 2 children. One daughter is a sophomore at the high school, and our son will be a freshman in the fall. So I have been a member of the school board for almost 6 months, and I've learned a lot in a short period of time. So I want to continue to serve as I feel I bring value and extensive experience in leadership to the board. Based on my past careers and volunteer, I've worked through tax levies and mill rates and shared revenue while I was the town clerk, town administrator for the town of Fulton, which is a taxing entity for the district. I've been part of the leadership team at UW-Rock County, and in both kind of solid and shaky economic times at the college. And I feel that that will serve me well. And my work at Mercy Health currently has given me a perspective of needing to think big picture and long-term for the good of larger organizations. The vast majority of my adult life, I both reported to a board of directors and I have served as a board member. This experience serves me well, and I believe I've been through and seen basically what it takes to be successful. My volunteerism on various committees and boards that I served has provided me with thousands of hours of experience in working together on boards to move organizations forward and making nonprofits in the community successful within the region. So I've been part of so many great organizations, and I've held leadership roles in most of those on most of those boards. And really, I want to serve because I'm passionate about education, and I believe as a group, we concentrate on putting the students first and working together will improve the district and the community.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, I want to point out that one of the 6 candidates was not able to join us tonight. Sherry Shaw had a work-related meeting, and so we are without her tonight. So we are going to start with our questions, and the first question that we have is going to go to Dave Holterman. Now, I just want to point out this question is worded basically toward people who are not currently on the board, so just keep that wording in mind when I ask the incumbents this question. There is much more to the school board, obviously, than regular meetings. There are committees that you'll be serving on, as well as other assignments, some permanent and some short-term. Tell us which committee assignments would best use your individual skills, experiences, and interests, Dave.
All right. Again, thank you, Jim. Looking at my own work experience and my volunteer experience, I think the finance committee, which I'm currently a member of, is a good fit for me. As a banker, I have the opportunity to review financial statements, have forward-thinking analysis as it relates to those statements, and think about things such as sustainability and the ability to deliver what our goals are within the constraints of our finances. I also serve on the transportation committee. I think that's a good fit, because I've had an opportunity to serve on it now for approximately a year. And again, looking at logistics, I think kind of piggybacks with some of my prior experiences as well. Strategic planning is also a committee that I am on. As we look to the future, I kind of develop a list for myself of things that long-term that we want to accomplish, and try to sort through in my own analysis of what we do. What are our priorities? Unfortunately, we probably have more priorities than we have resources to accomplish them. And so going through the process of deciding which priorities are the most important priorities and which ones we'll focus on when the opportunity presents itself. I think one of the things that I've learned in these committees and in the board in general is, to your point, Jim, there's a lot of work outside of the actual meetings. It sounds a lot like just simply doing your homework, understanding what the issues are, both talking to administration and other folks involved in the district about the issues with them, and then looking outside and finding information in the universe of those topics and trying to understand it and deliver results based on kind of digesting this information and making hopefully good decisions.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Next up, this question goes to Jay. Jay, which committee assignments do you think would best use your individual skills and experiences and interests?
Well, one would probably be the transportation, because I work for Go Right Way, so I'm the one that does all the routes and everything there, so I know the area pretty good. And I can probably I've worked with school district because of the transportation, like nonstop. Probably the athletic portion type stuff. I'm not really positive. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but dealing with the sports and setting up, hopefully we can get money going and all that type of stuff. And then honestly, that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to do is deal with the transportation athletic stuff. That's why I wanted to try to get on the board. Because we've had problems with transportation for quite a few years.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you.
Next up, the question goes to Leslie Hubert. Leslie, which committee assignments do you think that your individual skills and experiences and interests would be best served?
I feel like my experience in curriculum writing would make me a good fit for a curriculum and co-curricular committee. I also served as a coach of multiple sports while as an instructor, so I feel like that's a great fit for me. I also believe that the policy and legislative committee would be a good fit for myself. I have dealt a lot with policy. My husband also has working at the Capitol. I see a great deal of the policy that comes through, and I feel like that would be a great fit as well. And then strategic planning and maybe even finance. I feel like I have some really great ideas on ways to bring our schools moving forward, and increasing our success rate through education, as well as just the Milton Forward Plan, and moving us to continue to be one of the best in the state. So that's something that I think I could contribute to well, based on my experiences and my skills.
All right. Thank you very much, Leslie. Jennifer, which committee assignments do you think are best for your individual skills, experiences, and interests?
All right. So currently I do serve on the Human Resource Committee, and recently, right, since I joined the board, it's been a fair amount of time commitment, and I have very much enjoyed it. And I do think because of my work, again, both at UW-Rock County and now at Mercy, I feel I have a handle on what it takes to really assess things and look at things from both sides, and as it relates to all of the human resource issues that we may have at the district. So not just salary and benefits, but I do serve on the Benefits Advisory Committee also. And again, that's been a it's been a learning experience, let me say. And then I do also serve on the Curricular and Co-Curricular Committee, and I very much enjoy that because I do have, much like Leslie, I do have a passion and some experience. I've coached track and cross country for almost 10 years in various places, mostly at St. Paul's and also at Craig. And so again, I very much enjoy those two, the committees that I serve on. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. And we'll wrap up this question with Joe Martin. Joe, which committee assignments do you think best use your individual skills, experiences, and interests?
Okay, thanks, Jim. Obviously, this question is a little bit different for me. Obviously, with the role of board president, you assign folks to the committees. So that certainly has been one of the tasks that I've had to do for the last couple of years. Maybe by way of helpful background, not so much for the candidates, but for anyone that's listening to us, I'll quickly describe how the board works committee-wise. We have 8 standing committees: strategic planning, human resources, finance, transportation, policy, curricular and co-curricular activities, technology, and legislative. So theoretically, on the way the board has functioned in the past was that the president didn't necessarily serve on any of the committees per se. We had the 6 remaining board members, 8 committees with 3 slots apiece. 8 times 3 is 24 slots, divided by 6 board members is about 3 to 4 committee assignments per board member would be normal. We've had a little bit of a different experience in the past couple of years because of some vacancies. Most of you know that we've had some folks step up and fill some terms for us, and to give them a chance to acclimate and understand what was going on, I took it upon myself to jump into some of the committee assignments and keep that work moving forward while some of our newer folks gained the background and the knowledge that they would need to help on those committees. So I've technically been on all the committees that we have. Have chaired 3 or 4 of them out of necessity, but would certainly look forward to backing off from that. And I think we've got a good functioning board. We will have a good functioning board. The committee structure is a very key component to how we get our work done. So that's just a little bit of the background, and my knowledge would probably be across all the committees, but certainly wouldn't have a problem stepping into any of those if need be.
All right. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, candidates. We will move on to our next question, and we are going to start this round with Jay. So Jay, what is your perspective on Milton School District's approach to virtual versus in-person instruction and varsity athletics and other co-curricular activities, considering the current pandemic conditions?
I think they've done a pretty good job for everything. My opinion, if I would have brought them back face-to-face a little bit sooner than 2 months left of school. That just because of the change, it's going to be a little bit rough on the kids, but I also like the idea of they're going back to face-to-face. So it's one of those things that's just, you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't, pretty much. The academic or the athletics, my son wrestles, and I don't think we had a case at all the way through the wrestling season. So that was, let it go, have them do it. That's awesome. Football's playing now. Great. Get the kids out there, do it. I mean, they're outside. Kind of wish we did it in the fall. Because now trying to get everything in one season from winter to summer is hectic. Especially bus-wise. That is bad. We have unbelievable buses going up because of charters. Like I said, transportation and the athletic is my stuff, and that's what I want to try to get on board for. We probably you guys just did a great job on COVID. That's all it was. It's hard. It's hard to explain what I wanted to say, so I'm good. 30 seconds, I'm good.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Question goes to Leslie. Leslie, your perspective on the school district's approach to virtual versus in-person with instruction, athletics, and other co-curricular activities.
Okay. So it's, anybody who started the board 2018, 2019, it's really hard to predict what was going to happen. And I really can't imagine what must have been going through the board members' minds at the start of this year. Well, really at the end of last year. So it's not something that you could foresee, the closing of our schools and moving to virtual platform and doing it quickly. So I feel like the school district had a fairly good transition. However, as we know, the virtual education as it's happening right now is not really beneficial to students. We've seen that across the board. And so students, are typically falling behind, and in some cases up to 2 years. And that's a problem. So I feel like we need to be definitely in person, and I know that we're moving in person April 5th. I feel like it should have happened a lot sooner, but again, it's hindsight, and this is our first pandemic, so mistakes are going to be made. Things are going to be done that we look back and we're like, oh, we probably could have done that better or done this different. But it's just really important that we get the students back 100% in person, and those that don't want to be in person, they have that option if they want to remain virtual. But virtual education across the board is not a good fit for everyone, and we need to make sure that our students are having the best chance at receiving the best education that they can, that Milton has always provided, and we need to make sure that we continue that and have a good plan moving forward.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. Question goes next to Jennifer. Your perspective on the district's approach to virtual versus in-person.
Yeah, so I feel the district has done the best job that they can with the circumstances that they were facing. We all know that there's pros and cons, right, to virtual learning. And there is this big kind of digital divide, and it's complex. So I did in fact vote for bringing students back full-time face-to-face. And as Leslie mentioned, there is the ability to, there's a choice. And so I think that, again, students are falling behind. And I feel that for actually, again, psychologically, they need to be back. I think it's having an effect on them, the isolation and just maybe even not being connected, right? So as it relates to extracurricular activity, I think that extracurricular activity is critical for students that choose to do that, and it keeps them engaged in their education. And for some students, that motivates them to do well academically. And so, again, I applaud the AD for all of the work that he's done to get students that are wanting to engage in extracurricular activity back and enjoying the sports and the music and the theater that they want. So thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. And Joe, your perspective on the district's approach to virtual versus in-person.
Okay, thanks. Well, I would start by saying I'm extremely proud of our district and where we're at today. And I think if we want to look back in hindsight, I'm proud and very thankful of all the decisions that we made at each juncture. If you think back to what our information was at any particular time, I think we had a great team approach between our board and our administrative team to weigh the risks and benefits that were presented to us. And it really is that weighing or finding that balance that is the challenge of the board. You know, we were tasked with the safety of our kids and our staff. And at the same time, we want to be able to provide them with all the opportunities that we can, whether it's in the classroom or outside the classroom, to the degree that we can. And like I said, I'm very proud of our district and all the choices we made. I think we found the right balance. Certainly those on the board with me know that we had folks lobbying both directions, and anyone you talk to about COVID will have opinions that range the spectrum, from conservative to liberal, or from do this to don't do that, et cetera. So the community is across the board. The district is across the board. I think the board did an excellent job of finding the balance. And quite honestly, I happen to know that we were looked at as a model from other districts that tried to emulate what we had done, which was very reassuring and comforting to me that we did find, the right way to proceed with that balance of keeping people safe, offering them choices, and then offering the opportunities that they could take advantage of.
Thank you, Joe. And we'll wrap this question up with Dave Holterman. Dave, your perspective on the district's approach to virtual versus in-person.
Well, first of all, I think a lot of gratitude should be sent to the administration and the boards prior to us. The prior investment in technology, the one-to-one efforts that went on made the ability to do virtual learning at all possible. As some of the other comments showed here, I think we had a leadership role amongst the state because of the prior investments in technology, and that is a great deal of thanks, in my opinion, to the folks before us. I think virtual evolved constantly, and I think we got better at it as the year went on. As mentioned many times, this is unprecedented. And what do you do in an unprecedented time? Well, you don't know until you get there. You make best plans and you see how they work out. I know as I kind of did my homework leading to these board meetings and talked to people, decisions were a balancing act with best efforts. As Joe mentioned, there are people on both sides of this, and each of them sincerely want the best for their kids. And we come to these meetings and try to do that, and balancing two different spectrums on what's best for kids and trying to find a happy medium is tough, and it's a big responsibility. As it relates to activities, earlier Jay mentioned, my 10-year-old, well, he's 10 now, we had youth football in 2019. Evan loved it, had a great time, and we missed that last year. And, as we made decisions, and I have a senior this year who missed a good portion of her show choir season. And, the decisions on how this impacted them and all of the other kids has been tough. I'm optimistic as we go forward. I think we made tough decisions, and I think things worked out because of a lot of homework on the staff, the administration, the board, and I'm excited for the next 2 months. I get it. We get a chance to bring kids back in, find out where they are, where they need help as we approach the summer, and hopefully give them a sense of normalcy to finish out the year. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thank you, Dave. All right. We are going to move on to our next question, and we will start this round with Leslie Hubert. Leslie, what is one recent decision that you believe the school board handled well and one that you believe should have been handled differently?
Okay, well, so the decision I think that they handled well was to move back into in-person. And I also think that despite everything that was happening in this last year, that they worked well with what they had. And as it was mentioned before, that the technology certainly helped. We didn't know what was going to happen, and we certainly adapted for sure. And I think that was well done. But I think moving in person and making that decision to do it now, rather than wait until the fall, was a very good decision. I know it can seem a little daunting to families because they have to adjust yet again. But we want to get that out of the way now, and that way we're ready for the fall and going back especially with all the new spaces that we have. So one thing that I think that the board can do a better job of is moving forward, at least, is communication and communicating well with all different groups in our community. Speaking to people, not just parents of students, but just community members that they pay taxes here, and we need to keep them informed by utilizing all aspects, not just our website, which is very well done, but and not just Facebook, but also having listening sessions and going out and actually speaking to the community, going to them rather than depending on them coming to us. So.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. Jennifer, what is one recent decision that you believe the school board handled well and one that you believe should have been handled differently?
All right. So I'm going to agree with Leslie. I think bringing the students back face-to-face 5 days a week was one of the best decisions that the board has made. And again, there were other fellow board members that did not agree with that. But in my heart of hearts, I think that we definitely are doing the students a service in bringing them back, and just there are other districts. There were 7 or 8 other districts in the area that brought students back face to face, or that were already face to face. And I think that, again, administration and staff will do a wonderful job of making sure that our students are still safe. As it relates to the second part of the question, as a decision that perhaps I felt was wrong. I'm not to judge my fellow board members. I respect the decisions that they make, and I voice my own decisions. So, I go home knowing that I'm, in my heart of hearts, I've made a decision, and if it's not the same, that's okay. But I'm not going to say that we've done something wrong in the last 6 months.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Joe, question to you. What's one recent decision you believe the school board handled well and one that you believe should have been handled differently?
Okay. Well, for me, I guess I will probably parrot my previous answer just a little bit. And I will, instead of a single decision, I would link most of the decisions we made along the timeline relative to COVID. I think were handled well. For the reasons I mentioned previously, we found a balance, and we had a team approach between the administrators and the board to solve whatever the issue was at the particular point in time we were as the COVID situation unfolded, and we as an education system tried to respond to that. So I'm proud of and think those decisions were handled as well as could be, even with the benefit of hindsight. A decision to do it differently. I might have to back up a little in the timeline there. Last summer, I think most of you in the community know we did some some work strategy-wise to change our elementary boundaries, and that was rolled out a little abruptly. It did cause some concern amongst the community, and particularly elementary parents, which we had to take a step back and gather input and implement our solution a little bit more slowly. And I think we could have done a better job if we'd have flipped that around and gotten the input from the parents before we made the change. As it turns out, we did use their input and modified the change we made. So in as much as we could have done it a little differently, I think we did achieve the result that we were looking for. So.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Dave, recent decision you believe the school board handled well and one that you believe could have been handled differently.
I think one that went well in general was the Milton Forward plan. For those of you that kind of watched the board over the course of the summer months and as we approached the fall, one of the things that I thought was very well thought out was the presentation of what do you think, public, if we do this? Because one of the things that the plan involved was the opportunity for parents to say, if we brought school back this way, who would come back and who wouldn't? Because a lot of the how will we implement the logistics of this were dependent upon if we had 10% of the students virtual or 50% of the students virtual. So I think there was a really good job done putting together a scenario, getting parental feedback, and then being able to fill in the blanks of what that meant based on how many students will we physically have in place at any given time. So I was impressed with that. I think the administration and the staff did a good job of developing that. And for those of you who followed the board, we had several board meetings along the way that ended comfortably after 11 p.m. as we debated these things. And I think despite probably all of us having moments of frustration, it really did reflect people who care trying to come up with good solutions. Things that we could have done differently. In hindsight, if I knew now or knew then what I knew now, I would have liked to have brought the kids back with the kind of hybrid approach sooner after the new year. With the data that we had coming into Thanksgiving and the recommendations that the CDC had, we were in a bad spot at that point. We made decisions at that time that made sense with what we knew at that time. However, fortunately, things have improved greatly since then. And if I could go back and say, let's bring the kids back a little bit sooner in that hybrid for 7 through 12, and then the traditional for the kids younger than that sooner in January, I would have liked to have done that. I think, and I know I'm running out of time here, but echoing Joe's comments, I think we did a good job with boundary lines, but we could have delivered it better. And so there's my reflections. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thank you, Dave. And Jay, to you, what is one recent decision you believe the school board handled well and one that you believe should have been handled differently?
I think I'm going to agree with the ladies coming back face to face. I agree with that one. They did that very well. They thought about it. I mean, I'm just glad they brought the kids back. The one I don't agree with was canceling the fall sports. There was a lot of teams that actually played and nothing happened with the kids. There were studies out and nothing happened. I mean, I understand where they came from. It was all new back then, but they were outside back then. They were saying being outside was fine and all that type of stuff. I mean, soccer, football, everything in fall, instead of jamming everything down everybody's throat in just a half a year, it's rough on the kids. And then it was rough on the kids not missing it in the fall. Senior from freshman up, they missed everything. But that's pretty much everything else they did great on. I can't argue with anything else except for the fall sports. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay.
I'm short and sweet. I'm sorry.
So we will move on to our next question, and this will go first to Jennifer. Jennifer, can you and should you support a board decision of which you were not in favor? And you're on.
I haven't started talking yet. I was thinking. No, I think the answer is no. I think, again, you still have to think independently, and that's why there's a number of board members. So again, we're not going to agree on all things. And I think that if you truly believe in a decision and it's going a different way, then you still have to stand by what you believe in. So there's certainly been decisions that have been made in my short period of time on the board that I don't agree with. And so my vote is no, but that doesn't mean that they're bad decisions. Again, I feel strongly about the idea that there are, we're all not like-minded. And that's good. And again, we have great discussion amongst the group, and it does make you think. And I feel as though that's the best part about, again, we're all different. We all come to the board with different experiences. But I do think that, again, you should, if you feel strongly about a vote, you should stick with what it is that you want, your vote to be. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Joe, can you or should you support a board decision of which you were not in favor?
So I think you're touching on the very essence of a high-functioning board, which is something that I strive towards, and I hope that the boards would strive towards. And I'll draw a distinction here. I think you can support a decision that you're in the minority of the vote without compromising your beliefs, your ideals, or whatever it is that brought you to that point. And it's the fact of, we have 7 individuals, but we have one school board. And at the end of the day, we are going to vote on an issue, and it could be 7-0, 6-1, 5-2, or 4-3. Whichever the majority is, will chart our course on that particular issue. If a person votes, not in favor of the action, if you will, or is on the losing side, or however you want to characterize that, I agree with Jennifer. You should, hold true to the beliefs or principles that guide you to that decision. But I think in a high-functioning board environment, you can support the board in its entirety that has chosen to move in that particular direction. So I think you can do both, and I think we do that, and I think folks have to feel okay with doing that.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Dave, the question goes to you. Should you support a board decision of which you were not in favor?
So here's my thoughts on it. So long as the decision that's been made is legal, it's ethical, and is made in good faith, should you support it? And I will say the answer to that is yes. Now, with that, I have additional commentary. So, for example, for those of you who've watched the actions of the board several weeks ago, I did not support the idea to go back to early release on a weekly basis. I politely presented my thoughts on it. I tried to be persuasive with my fellow board members, and I politely just essentially made my case. In the end, my vote was in the minority, and my belief did not pass. However, going back to what do I mean by yes? And so the answer to yes is, this was the majority decision of the board to go back to weekly early release. And so as a member of the board, I'm not going to go out and try to undermine it publicly. I'm not going to try to belittle the decision. I'm not going to go out and say board member XYZ should have done A, B, or C, because ultimately, as a board or with anything, united, we stand together, and divided, we fall. And so to try to persuade someone politely and say, this is why I think what I think, and what I think our constituents think, and what I think is best for our kids. But ultimately a decision was made, and we made it as a board, as a unit. And so again, as long as it's done in good faith, it's legal, it's ethical, it's not the dissenter's job to try to destroy it after the fact, but ultimately try to move forward as a unit. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thank you, Dave. The question now goes to you, Jay. Jay, can you or should you support a board decision of which you were not in favor?
I agree with that, all of them. You stick to your guns. If you vote no, everybody else votes yes. Yes, you're a team. being a coach for so many years, you teach kids that if you're a team, you're not an individual. If you don't agree with something, that's your opinion. Everybody's got their own opinions, but you don't stab people in the back. You don't go out like Dave said and backlash people and all that. So yes, support them, but stick to your guns as well. And once again, short and sweet.
I don't know. Are you cut out for politics if you're going to be short and sweet? That's what today, I think.
I just don't like Zoom meetings. I don't like this computer stuff. So,
well, I can certainly understand that. Thank you, Jay. Question goes now to Leslie. Leslie, can you or should you support a board decision in which you were not in favor?
Yeah, I would echo everything that's been said here. You know, I would consider a position on the board, you know, you're a team, but you're also a servant leader. You know, you share authority. It is a democratic process. So obviously we're not all going to agree, but we do need to put the needs of others before our own. And so while we might not agree, we do have to come to, you know, an understanding. It's all about mutual understanding, communication. The best relationships are built on communication. I've learned that in my marriage. And so I think, you know, as the board moves forward, that's going to be key. And as long as every member on the board has that same attitude of being a servant leader, you know, helping each other, learning from each other, and while we have our opinions and we might not ultimately agree, you know, we're forsaking personal advancement because we're all working toward the same goal. We have this overarching goal of what is best for the children and what is best for our community as a whole. And I think having those things in mind, having that attitude, what I constantly tell my children, having a happy heart, no matter what, then you know, ultimately we're going to move forward the way that the district needs us to, and I think that's going to be key for any team that we have. So,
all right, thank you very much. And for our final question of the evening, we're going to start with Joe Martin. So, Joe, with the continuing addition of new businesses and their need for employees, the Milton Area Chamber of Commerce is anticipating significant growth on the near horizon for Milton. What issues does this trend present of which the school board should be mindful?
Okay, thanks, Jim. That's obviously something that's on our radar, and it's sort of always there, whether there's the kind of activity that you're alluding to or not. We have to keep an eye on the future. As I mentioned, my background with the board and pre-board was based on looking at facilities, and what that boils down to is twofold. Is the facility large enough to accommodate X number of bodies? And does it have the amenities and the modernization things or the lack of obsolescence? So, you know, we're very, very fortunate in this community that we proposed a solution to some of those issues that the community chose to support. And by that, I mean our building referendum that we passed in 2018, that we are about 3/4 of the way through, that will give us the luxury of additional space to accommodate some growth. It will not accommodate massive growth. If that's a situation that unfolds, some board in the future will have to sit down and take a look at the factors that are pertinent for that particular point in time and come up with solutions at that point. But we are in an enviable position of being able to accommodate some growth in the near term. And I'm just very, very excited for where this district is and where we can be in the near future.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. Dave Holterman. Dave, with the continuing addition of new businesses and their need for employees, the Chamber sees significant growth on the near horizon for Milton. What issues does this trend present of which the school board should be mindful?
I think there's three issues that really come to mind as we consider that. I'm going to kind of pillars, if you will, career readiness, facility readiness, and financial readiness. When I mean career readiness, what I'm talking about is, are we producing the employees of the future? We are blessed to be in an area that's having economic success right now. I know with the COVID pandemic, not everyone's experiencing it equally, but I'm very optimistic that, you look at the economic development going on in the county, that we're suited much better than other areas of the country. And so are we setting our kids up to be ready for the careers of the future, whether it be going on to technical school, traditional college, working out of high school, taking on other types of job training? Are we giving them the skills up front to do that? And that is something that we always need to think about, but especially as we look to filling the jobs of the future. Fiscally, bringing jobs also brings housing. And so, generating new housing creates tax dollars, as soon as it's built, essentially. It also generates additional students for the district. And so do we have the resources in place to be able to accommodate those? And does what's bringing in generate additional resources for us to do that? I don't mean strictly money, but we also have to talk about, do we have the teachers in place to keep class sizes reasonable? Do we have other support people in place to make sure that they're able to do their jobs to the best of their abilities? As we look at financially commercial, one of the interesting things about commercial development is a lot of it is driven by TIF districts. And so the jobs come sooner than the tax dollars because the TIF districts generally have to be retired before the school district and some of the other taxing bodies get them. And so how are we balancing those things? And then lastly, with my final seconds here, is facilities. Joe touched upon it several times tonight, and looking at, do we have the facilities to not only help our students now and our staff now, but are we in a position to make sure that they're going to be adequate in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years? So thinking strategically is the key.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Question goes to Jay. Jay, the Chamber believes there's going to be significant growth in Milton. What issues does that mean the school board needs to be mindful of?
Well, size of the buildings. I know we added on, but I went to that school and it was small back then. And even adding whatever, I can't remember how many rooms we added, it's still going to be pretty small within the next 3 years. So we're going to end up spending more money probably and adding more rooms, or we're going to have to get a new high school. Transportation is going to be rough because we already cover over 100 square miles for the Milton School District. If we keep expanding housing out, it's going to be longer routes. Kids are going to be on buses longer. Parents aren't going to be happy. So they're going to have to figure something out. Maybe out of district, stop doing that or something like that. But if we start growing more and more, it's going to be rough. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Leslie, the Chamber is anticipating significant growth. What issues does the school board need to be mindful of?
Well, I think growth in any community is great. We definitely welcome it. We just added a lot of space. While it might not be enough for a massive growth, as was mentioned before, I think we have a real opportunity here to stop being reactive to these situations and instead be more proactive. So what was mentioned by other members is that we need to be thinking ahead. And so we need to start incorporating those thoughts into our budget, as well as, when we're doing staffing. And as was mentioned before, career readiness. That's something that we need to be looking at for sure. I think if we can stop being reactive to a lot of these situations, we can avoid a lot of the problems that, might be contributing or might be coming off of the supposed massive growth. So again, I'll just say it. We just need to be proactive in combating some of these challenges rather than being reactive, and that'll also lessen the burden on taxpayers down the line too. If we can plan for the future a lot further out and take note of what we might possibly need down the line, then it's going to help alleviate the issues that we might see with seniors who are on a fixed income and new families coming in. You know, we have a lot of new families coming in, and they're just starting out, and they're the ones that are going to be hit the hardest if we start passing referendums because we're in a pinch and we need new buildings and new space. So we need to make sure that we're being proactive. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Leslie. Jennifer, Chamber anticipates significant growth. What should the school board be mindful of?
Well, obviously, having to answer this question last, I would definitely agree with most of the other candidates, and certainly with Dave in his 3 pillars. That was very well spoken, Dave. Good job. But I would say that the board will continue to address challenges as it relates to enrollment and classroom size. We're going to have to deal with the technology and, of course, funding and transportation. So those are all things that, again, if we see more growth, those are the things that we'll have to deal with. But I will say this, we will face those challenges as they present themselves. And I would say we would do that with our core values and our mission as our guide.
All right. Thank you very much, Jennifer. We have come now to the closing statements. Each of you will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement, and we will start that with Dave Holterman.
All right, thank you, Jim. Well, again, thank you for the Chamber for putting this on tonight. Again, Carrie Kleba for graciously helping us put the technology together, and Jim for moderating tonight. You know, as I reflect on my first year on the school board and look to the future, some things that I see kind of jumping out at me here in the immediate term is our approach to dealing with the aftermath of COVID. So, you know, we've got 2 months to have everybody back in school that is comfortable being back in school, and finding ways to identify those who have struggled during virtual education and finding ways to help them get caught up. Looking long-term, you know, performance for our kids. We got to deliver for kids. And going back to the prior statement on career readiness, ultimately, you know, our job as parents, as school board members, as members of the community is to hopefully put our children in a position for a better future than our own. And so making decisions that are under the umbrella of that. Another thing, again, is making fiscal decisions that are prudent. And what I mean by that is, you know, decisions that we make as a board today affects boards long after us current members are no longer on the board. And so when we make a decision, thinking about not only what does it do today, but what does it look like in 5 years? What does it look like in 10 years? And having that eye to the future as we make decisions. You know, one of the things that's kind of here in the pipeline is with the COVID relief package, there's quite a few dollars set aside for schools to get kids back in, get them successful, and make plans to make our buildings and facilities and staff safe. And so we've got a tall order when these things start to come online and how we're going to effectively utilize those things. And again, ultimately deliver for, are we providing our kids the best education we can? Do we have a quality facility for staff? And do we have something that ultimately that we as taxpayers and as citizens are proud of? So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave. Our closing statement now from Jay Williams. Go ahead, Jay. You've got 2 minutes.
You know I'm not going to use the 2 minutes.
Well, I wasn't going to presume that, so.
Jim, I just want to say thank you, especially for putting me behind Dave, and I get to think quite a while for it, what I got to say here. So, no, I want to say good luck to all you guys. This is, anybody makes it on here, you all deserve it. We need to put the kids first, put the teachers first. We just got to keep going the direction we're going now. You guys did awesome. I just want to join to help get going forward even more. So it's up to you guys. It's up to the public. I just want to say good luck to everybody, and that's pretty much it. You guys have a good night. I'm going to turn my mic off.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay. Closing statement now from Leslie Hubert. Leslie.
Thank you. And again, I just want to thank the Milton Chamber for hosting this forum, and thank you, Jim, for acting as moderator. And thanks to the board members who have been serving. It's not an easy job, and while we don't always agree with the decisions that come from the board, like what has been said here, you guys do have a heart for the community, and I think that's what I hope to add to the team as well. I want my kids to grow up in a community like I grew up in, and while I didn't come from Milton, we chose to live here because of the community and because of the people that are here. We have amazing teachers who continually work with our students to help them meet and achieve success and overcome their challenges. And they work with the parents very well, administrators too. So I'm very grateful and thankful for that. I also want to just echo what's been said, and everything that we do here and everything that we continue to do is for the students and to continually grow our community. And there are a lot of ways that we do that. And so again, I just want to be a part of that. I want to use my skills and my experience to help Milton grow and to help them move beyond this last year and to come out on the other side better and stronger. And to have a better plan moving forward so that we can continue to overcome any challenges that we may face and help our students succeed beyond high school and beyond Milton. So thank you very much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. Closing statement from Jennifer Johns. You have.
All right.
Jennifer, thank you.
Thanks again for the opportunity to speak tonight and to share my thoughts with the Milton community. So I guess I just want you to know that I promise to keep an open mind and be objective when I make decisions, and I'll be fiscally accountable and responsible for the decisions, obviously, that we make. And I too will put the students first. I am a respected parent and coach, an advocate for education, and I'm willing to work hard, and I always am prepared. I bring experience to the board, and again, huge community advocate. So by most measurements, I think things are going really well in the district. Enrollment continues to grow, unlike our neighboring districts. We're on a solid footing with finances, and now we're settling in with an experienced administrative team. I want to spend my time and energy on keeping the positive momentum going. I want to dedicate my energy and efforts to staying on that course. We are an excellent school district today, and I actually want that excellence to continue. So I feel as though I'm just getting started, knowing the staff and administration and others, other members of my board, my board family. I want the chance to keep learning and maybe making a positive difference within the district. So I just want to make the district better, and I think I can do that. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Well, someone always gets to have the final word, and tonight that's you, Joe. So you have 2 minutes.
That's quite often the case. So once again, thanks Danny and Jim for your portion of the program there, and thanks to Carrie Kleba for helping us on the school side here. Thanks to my fellow candidates. It's always fun and entertaining to sit and listen to what you folks have to say. I have the luxury of having done this, albeit in a live format and even with a bigger audience and a bigger candidate field. I do appreciate, and I'm sure you folks do now, of the difficulty of answering a question toward the end of the cycle, if you will, and it's hard to say something different. And quite honestly, most folks are in pretty much alignment on a lot of the issues. So I too I want to reiterate the humble privilege that's been mine to serve the district for the last 3 years. I'm eagerly anticipating being able to do that again. If the voters choose to do that, I will put my best effort forth to have some small leadership role in continuing the path that we're on. I would echo the sentiments of a couple of other folks here that we are on a good path. Once you gain some perspective on the board of where we fit in the big picture, the glass is half full in Milton. It truly is. I'm proud of where we're at, but we don't want to sit on our laurels, of course. We keep looking at ways we can improve and ways that we can better provide the opportunities and stuff that we want for our kids and be responsible to the folks in our community. So thanks for the opportunity so far and look forward to continuing our path. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you. That is going to conclude our candidates forum tonight. We'd like to thank everyone in the public who is watching this either live or on Facebook later. Please, if you have the interest in seeing this forum, then we hope that you will follow up and cast your ballot on April 6th or in person as an absentee or by mail-in ballot. However you do it, you have options. Please vote. Every election is important, especially an election that concerns our local school board. We would like to thank, first of all, thank you to Carrie Kleba from the School District of Milton for taking care of the technical aspects of this tonight. And certainly we'd like to thank our 5 candidates that were able to join us this evening. Jay Williams, Leslie Hubert, Jennifer Johns, Dave Holterman, and Joe Martin. Thank you all so much for spending your time with us this evening. On behalf of the Milton Area Chamber of Commerce, my name is Jim Lyon, and thank you all very much, and vote April 6th.